All right, welcome back to Morning Live. And right now, Mr. Dennis Ntumbi is in studio and you want to touch base on matters referendum because majority, according to the polls, are opposed to the referendum calls. And recently, our DP, Mr. of course, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, of course, said he's in support of the referendum, but the position of a prime minister is kind of a little bit shaky, according to him. Now, Dennis,
yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu.
It's a good morning.
Karibu,
indeed.
it's a good morning.
Yes.
You told me you need coffee.
I do. I need coffee.
All right.
I need coffee.
You'll be sorted. You know, we serve coffee here right here on Morning Live. So don't worry.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Now, referendum, it's been a topic of better part of early 2018. We're now we're now in early 2019, and of course, it's already out here that indeed it's kind of getting some concrete opinions from different quarters. From where you're seated, I understand the referendum will mean some people might be affected in one way or another, because the changes will, of course, directly hinder some progress or maybe some deals that are actually going on. So many things, actually, in the name of taxpayers' money. What do you think of what's currently going on?
Personally, I think that my professional undertaking is that we don't need a referendum in this country. We don't at all.
Okay.
And I'll go towards the conversations with the referendum. This is why. We have a beautiful constitution with one or two amendments here, especially for me on some critical aspects like the aspect of life. I don't believe that we need to sentence anybody to death in this country.
Okay.
I also don't believe that we need to be struggling with some strong issues as permissibility of areas like abortion at the end of the day, because we're still a young country. We're only 50 million. We need to get to 100 million. Sure. If you look at smaller countries than us like the UK, they're already 80 million strong. So we are still a country that grows, that needs the human resource aspect. So we cannot be in court discussing matters of abortion. There are things that we need to shut down completely. Also, the other thing that devolution brings power and resources to the people. So, and that is what our constitution, permits. It is what it brings into play. Today, the constitution empowers you. Not just the fact that you have power, but also public participation. Sure. Unfortunately, there's no architecture towards that. And also, Kenyans don't really want to get involved into that. And by the way, we are very few years into devolution. And we have seen counties that this is working. Now, what the referendum means and says is that all the gains for the reasons why we have discussed and we discussed the new constitution, we are likely to lose that. But not just lose that, we are likely to lose all the crooks that have stolen money from us, from counties, from governors, from everything of the sort, take power from the people and relook at where power needs to sit now. And let me tell you what, the beautiful thing about this constitution is this. It did away with a monarchy system whereby the king could just do some decrees. And it brought to us a presidential system with an aspect of devolution and the fact that power belongs to the people. So it means my family, we gather together with a community, with a few other families, and then we elect one guy called the MCA. Okay. And with that MCA, this is what we do. Then we send him to the county government with our agenda. And we say, you know what? These 10 things are the things that we want to do. So go make a budget for us and then come back and initiate this development. The only problem is that the law that gives that MCA money has never been enacted. Why? Because governors want to control that wealth. You understand? So there are certain things that we need to do to this constitution before we start talking about referendum. Number one is that we need to do a constitutional audit. And that constitutional audit will show us how far we have come and how far we ought to go. We are not supposed to be discussing a referendum. Only less than 10 years to a new constitution. It's madness of the highest order. In fact, it's anarchy in its own self. You know why we did this constitution?
Okay.
Because of social injustices, judicial injustices, because of the fact that wealth sat with a very few, And because 80% of Kenyans were poor, land was taken haphazardly. The matter of resources, again, is a big question in this country. You understand? The fact that we actually demolished the monarchical system that we got from the Queen, whereby the president could walk and drive for 40 days and declare the entire this is my land, or give land to his cronies and powers and whatever it is that we devolved power and resources.
Okay.
That for us was our greatest liberation to date.
Okay.
Now we want to do away with that. No. Now, based on that, now we can discuss why the referendum and what way we need to go.
Now, bigger picture economically, I understand there's so much to sort out in the referendum, but you know, holding a referendum, that means also there must be some taxpayers' money involved in all this process. Now, we already kind of squeezed, pushed in the corner as far as our tax paying and debts are concerned in this country.
Absolutely. You know, you've said something so important, something so deep. And I'm so saddened to see that some Kenyans have swallowed the lie that we are a bloated government and many other things. Follow the money. Follow the money. If there's so much to be stolen, if there's so much money, we actually know nowadays in terms of what this government is stealing, we're not even talking about 10 shillings. We're talking about billions, staggering billions. We saw that Professor Kivutha Kibwana could just do a hospital fully equipped with 35 million shillings. Can you imagine? Just that, fully equipped. So it means that devolution can work. At the end of the day, he's the first guy to realize universal health care. That every family, and by the way, this is a shocking thing, is that what he did and his initiation of universal health care in Makueni is that now 80% of the entire population in Makueni can access medical care for less than 500 shillings a year. Okay. It's shocking. And this means, by the way, they can be able to do C-section, whatever operations that there is in whatever, of course in collaboration with NHIF and many others. But let me tell you what, we are just from a dual election. Double election.
Wow.
Double election, it means, by the way, the fact that elections in this country start 2 years before the election date. It means that think about economic suffering, looting and everything else 2 years before the elections. Okay. The fact that we've suffered. Homes have shut down. By the way, homes that were poor now have escalated to abject poverty. The middle class has sunk lower. We have loans, we have businesses to service and all that. I have friends who have shut businesses down. I have friends who are right now shacking with friends. They're living with other people. So we've come from a double elections where we were not able to trade at all, where political temperatures were at an all-time high. Then now we are saying that isn't enough. Let us talk about nonsense called referendum, that you'll have to suffer politically again. High-charged environments, loud speakers, politicians blaring with their big bellies and lying to you, and all that madness. To do what? To give some people power for life. Because this referendum is not about the Kenyan. This referendum is about the permanent residency of power and resources in this country to a few who have seen that their time to rule this country has come to an end. This is the only thing and the only reason why we are discussing the referendum in this country.
Let's talk as it
is. You've woken me up, by the way, badly. Let's talk.
Let's now touch base on matters of power, because now when you mention power, there are few people who want to hold on to power for so long.
Absolutely.
Now, do you think Kenyans will allow such? Because as much as the referendum goes back to the people, do you think now Kenyans will allow such scenarios?
The first thing I have to do is that I have to congratulate Kenyans for being abjectly ignorant and foolish politically.
Wow.
I have to celebrate them for that, for foolish because there's some guys who are already supporting the referendum. They have never read the Constitution. They don't understand the political direction of the Constitution. Yet they want to get us back into the nonsensical mobocracy of dhuraku and madness of the sort of, strongholds and whatever it is. Those guys are the ones who got us where we are. They're the ones who got us where we are. They should be ashamed of themselves. And I'm saying this on national TV. First of all, you have to understand the spirit and behind the conversation of the referendum.
Okay.
And this is all about retention of power. It's all about chronism. It's all about retaining power in some certain families. And that has to be, because if we look at the gains that this constitution gave us, the Constitution 2010, we sat years and years and years and years discussing issues and drafts and everything of the sort. Now, two things are at play. And I thank the Deputy President, William Ruto, for being the only objective politician within the entire of this madness. And that's the reason why he's being fought. The whole corruption campaign is targeted towards two people in this country, because those are the sober guys we have. Number one, I agree that there's a part of the judiciary that is corrupt. But I believe in the strength and the attitudeness of one man called Justice Maraga. Number two, the discourse that the Deputy President is holding is absolutely sober. You know why? Let me tell you what, there are two forms of governments here that are being discussed. First of all, we are saying, let us do away with a beautiful constitution that we sat for so long discussing. A constitution that, by the way, did whatever, de-escalated power from the presidency into institutions. That's one gain. Give the people, power belongs to the people. This is what the constitution says. You understand? Then it brought, and because we were in a unitary state, which means the central government is supreme with an aspect of devolution. It can escalate functions to the county governments. But what it is that we are looking at here is that we are looking at a very strong aspect of devolution. It means that my grandmother can be able to sit in boards and discuss that, no, I do not want dual carriageways. Sorry, I don't want SGR. No, sorry, I don't want anything up there. Fix my road, fix our schools here, get for us a functional discovery that our women can deliver here. We can be able to discuss. And by the way, in discussion, it means that power is mine. It means that I have the spending power, and I have the policy power, and I have the legal power as a citizen of this country. But you know what? There are two forms of government, and that's where I want us to focus. The two forms of government, it means that they're discussing, we should go the parliamentary way, or should we retain the presidential way? Kenyans need to understand what this means to this country. One will kill this country forever. The other one will still stabilize this country. And we need knowledge like anything else. Listen good. If you're going to follow whims and strong politicians who are lying to you and political campaigns within the referendum, you will sell this country to the soul of the beast. And our children will never see the light of day. This country is fragile. A lot of people are broke. We are struggling even to buy milk, I'm telling you, which we don't even know whether it's powder or it's water. We don't even know, because we've been taking poison as sugar here and many things of the sort. So those two forms of government is what we need to critically understand. And the president has given his support to the presidential system. And why does this country need the presidential system as opposed to parliamentary system? That is the kind of intellectual discourse that we need to do and educate Kenyans pretty well.
Thank you, sir. And we're taking a short break. When you come back now, Mr. Vincent Tumbi will be giving us the nitty-gritties on what you need to know about the changes that the referendum will be offering. Because now, as much as we're talking about the referendum, what are the internal issues to be tackled on by Kenyans? All that after a short break. Welcome back to Morning Live. So away from our referendum, let's now focus on matters East Africa, because yes, we are neighbors, but so much is happening as far as that issue is concerned. But let's just wind up that conversation quickly, Mr. Ntumbi.
Yeah.
What are the nitty-gritties?
The nitty-gritties is this. There's a certain section of politicians that are proposing that they want the parliamentary system. And this is what the parliamentary system means. Is that the legislature, which is the parliament, then sits and chooses who the prime minister is, or who the president is at the end of the day. And so the two, by the way, have concentrated power. you know. So the parliament basically decides who the PM is, and the PM then reports to the parliament. Now, this is why I'm opposed to that, because currently we don't have the mature, you understand where our parliament has taken us from. And we have countries like Denmark, by the way, that have stayed for over 500 days without a PM, because the parliament can wake up one day and decide, I'm sorry, you're not politically correct for us, we fire you. So that puts the country at a very awkward state. Also, we do not have matured political parties. Currently, JAP is under fire. ODM, at the end of the day, somebody's political past, personal past. So until we get strong political parties that are, you know, at the end of the day, they are for Kenya, and until we get the kind of, the quality of politician that, you know, we see in other developed countries, that's the only time a parliamentary system can function in this country. Also, tribal wars and boundaries review would then decide which region decides who is president. Currently, we have a section of the Gema saying we have numbers. We also have a segment of the Northeastern saying we have numbers. And Northeastern primarily has the land. So if then the division of the voting boundaries at the end of the day go into the favor of a certain clan or a certain tribe or a certain region, it means that they can dictate for life who becomes the president and who becomes the prime minister for life. And so what happens is that that portends a very fragile state of a country. And those countries, by the way, some of them that have the parliamentary system have never been stable. Now, the presidential system gives you stability. Why? Because even in times of crisis and in times of war, research has it that having one strong leader, having one head, I always say anything that has two heads is a monster. What has one head at the end of the day is even what God respects. So that gives you stability. That gives you a proper decision-making head. You understand? So you don't have 200 or 400 people deciding who becomes the prime minister and what becomes of the prime minister. So we're looking at an aspect of where we are as a country, the stability of the institution of parliament and the institution of political parties that then decide then who becomes the premier.
Right.
And I believe then the presidential system is the right one for us.
All right, now,
yes.
Let's now go back to our core discussion right now. The porous borders in East Africa, because now, the other day we saw footage in Ethiopia. You saw that footage, and that was very, very strange and shocking. Absolutely. Also.
Yes.
A lorry that was storing water from one point, I don't know, to another village in Ethiopia.
Yeah, it was actually fuel.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, fuel.
It was fuel.
With an ending like paraphernalia like never before, absolutely, like guns and everything. Now, that simply tells you there's a problem with the strictness of our borders, trying to go into deeper issues, just finding out what's going on. Let's start with Kenya.
Yes.
Of course, Uganda and Tanzania first.
Yes.
Yeah.
The issue of illegal small arms trade is very big in this region. And this is because the region is highly unstable. If you do a fragility mapping of the East Africa itself, you'll understand that the fragility threshold lasts for a mere 5 years. Because, I mean, that's when the political change comes. When an election comes, every country in East Africa, of course, other than Uganda that has a lifetime president, but you know there's a great instability within their northern regions that they haven't been able to capitulate for very many years. But the political instability within this region, the desire of governments to get in absolutely illegal sanctioned trade by the government. And this is why I say that. It's because the same politicians who sit in power are the same politicians who enable a lot of this. Arms trade can never happen without the sight of a sitting president, without the sight of the army, without the sight, because the routes are known. You understand? The routes are known. It's like, how is the illegal sugar making its way to Kenya? If you look at the illegal trade at the end of the day, from Yemen to Dubai to Somalia to Kenya, it knows, you know, and it's big money. All they have to do is pay taxes within who controls the routes. And the porosity of the borders out of corrupt officials and lack of strong policies at the end of the day is what permeates the small arms trade. And small arms traders work in perpetual with sitting governments. I have cause to believe that nothing happens in any country that the government does not know.
Okay.
So it means that if it happens, then it means it's actually what we can call government sanctioned.
All right.
So corruption is the thing that really permeates the small arms illegal trade.
Good news that Eritrea and Ethiopia, now things have cooled down.
Absolutely, yes.
And allegations of Ethiopia feeding Al-Shabaab also with arms, just like Eritrea actually feeding Al-Shabaab with arms and all. Do you think now that peace agreement between Ethiopia and Eritrea will decrease such allegations? Because now, you know, where there are rumors, you know, things happen. And there's some evidence also that Eritrea is instrumental in even funding Al-Shabaab.
Well, where there's, you know, where there's smoke, there's indeed fire.
Yeah.
So sometimes we look at the spirit behind rumors and we see whether they're true or not. But it's possible that when countries are at war, your enemy's enemy is your friend.
Okay.
You know, and that's a doctrine in war. So if you supply them with arms, if you supply them with whatever supplies it is, including foods and their stipends and whatever it is, then they will decapsulate your enemy. So we can imagine that perhaps there was a scenario that is, and you know, we look at the likelihood, and the likelihood of that happening, even through global security research, is that that has happened in all the regions that we know. Your enemy then is a friend to your enemy. So if they conglomerate at the end of the day, then they will form a bigger strength and a bigger power towards you, and their goals will be realized if they unite against you. But then the unity of these two countries is something beautiful. It's something that we haven't seen for many years.
Wow. So
it's
many
something
years.
that, you know, families that were split for years on end
And now coming back
reunited.
together,
You know, a husband who saw a wife 20 years ago, now they can even be able to hold and hug and kiss and finally even perhaps make babies. You never know. I mean, it's a beautiful thing that has happened at the end of the day. So you see, the war against Al-Shabaab at the end of the day is who is supplying them with arms, who is supplying them with resources. We saw, you know, through investigations, the terrorist act at Dusit.
Yes.
Local banks are involved. Local banks are involved in the funding.
Amazing.
You're looking at M-Pesa
Surprising
transactions in excess of 100 million. That is just somebody holding that within M-Pesa. So exactly where is this money coming from? Let me tell you what. The greatest and most expensive exercise in Kenya today is radicalization, because one youth is being promised jobs and 500,000 in excess. So if you look at one youth being promised that much, then just put into math even a mere 10,000, which that's not even, that's maybe an eighth of the recruitment that has already happened. So we are looking at billions of money. And this war, by the way, could just be discussed in boardrooms in Saudi or whatever it is that we are. We don't know. But at the end of the day, the authorities know. It's not stuff that we discuss of it. But somebody is intentionally funding Al-Shabaab. There's a clearly article. Al-Shabaab is the biggest affiliate of Al-Qaeda. Is the biggest affiliate of Al-Qaeda. It's the most successful terrorism unit in the world. In fact, there's a research on them that's going on. Of course, they are second to Boko Haram because of the kind of even hardware they have. They have better hardware than what the governments have. But you're looking at exponential funding. You're looking at them controlling illegal trade routes of sugar, of charcoal, arms, fuel. You know, you're looking at them running trade. And that's why we must make sure that the taxpayers' money don't fund terrorist activities at the end of the day. Because some of the goods that we have here, the sugar we are consuming, some of the foods that are not looked after by KRA or vetted by KEBS and whatever it is, that food, the supplier is Al-Shabaab at the end of the day. And so you're eating, you could be just using ketchup this morning that is distributed by Al-Shabaab. You could be putting sugar in your tea today that has been supplied by Al-Shabaab. So, and that's the evil around the porosity of borders.
Curbing the issue now, the porosity of these borders. Now, you know, sometimes you need to get us solutions. What are the solutions?
Yes. The solutions is kill corruption. It's just be vicious against corruption, because this corruption is, let me tell you what, some of these guys, you know, because this is what the corrupt government officials do. They don't want money to go into the treasury. They want money to go into their pockets. So even the guys that they put at the borders, at the end of the day, these are rent fetchers for them, that they want money to be coming into their pockets every day.
Okay.
So one of the things we need to do is that as citizens, we need to make sure that those who we vote are not corrupt.
Okay.
Number two, we must make sure that we police our borders ourselves.
Okay.
Let us not just leave it to corrupt officials.
Okay.
Number three, let us empower
Yes, wind
the
up.
policing communities within the borders.
Okay.
You know, and number four, let us make sure that we strengthen institutions that have an oversight authority against the police force, against the military, whatever it is that there is. We have to make sure that we don't have porous borders, because at the end of the day, we are letting the enemies come in with not just weapons, poison-laced foods.
Absolutely.
That at the end of the day, we are paying them
Absolutely.
taxes for this.
All right.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
so much, Mr. Daisy
I
Tumbi,
truly
for
appreciate you.
coming this morning. And of course, see you soon. See you soon again.
Absolutely,
A
thank
very,
you. I appreciate
very
it.
heavy incidents there you had. And
Yes.
of course, let's hope we'll have a solution to this porosity of our borders. And
Yes.
of course, our constitution. I believe
Yes.
the parliamentary system, from where
Yes.
I'm seated, from the editorial angle,
Mm.
I believe it will sort so many things out.